Hey everybody, this is Leslie and you're watching Midlife and Nailing It. If you could please hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up, I'd really appreciate it. It's Monday, so that means it's recipe of the week time. Today I have for you a video about how I make omelets. Let's go ahead and get started. I used to make omelets a while ago and I had a heck of a time making them. And one day, I don't know, it was a few years back, I watched an old Julia Child, one of her episodes of her old cooking show. It was in black and white even. And she went over how to make a basic omelet. And I've never had a problem since. Like, it is so easy to make an omelet, and I think we might make it a little bit too hard on ourselves as part of the problem. I am going to go ahead and make a couple omelets. My first omelet's just going to be a plain omelet, just to show you the technique, and I happen to like a plain omelet from time to time. And then I'll follow it up with what I do when I want to put filling into my omelet. So I've got 4 eggs here because I only use 2 eggs to make one omelet. It actually makes quite a lot, and you'll see in a minute. I think that's why I'm successful with making omelets now. I think a lot of time people make the mistake of making them with too many eggs, or if they do make them with too many eggs, they use too small of a pan. So I do the 2 eggs and it works really well. You want it to be very thin. So when you're making an omelet, if it's thick and it's not super thin, you're setting yourself up for disaster. I mean, 1, it might be running in the middle. 2, they're hard to like flip and the whole 9 yards. So my recommendation is that you make your omelet thin. So 2 eggs does that. Okay guys, so part of the reason why your omelet might not turn out that great is that you are using either too small of a pan or too big of a pan. If you're doing 2 egg omelet, which I'm going to do here, I recommend using a 10-inch pan, the standard 10-inch frying pan. And please don't judge the condition of my pans here. This set that I have currently is actually Rachel Ray. I have only had this set a year and a half, and look at, in my adult life before this set of pans, I have only owned 2 other set of pans. The first set was Wolfgang Puck, lasted me about 10 years. And then my second set was another Food Network star who kind of fell from grace a little bit. So much so I'm not going to even mention her name. But her set did last for, I think, 11 years. This set, not so much. And I'm shocked because I have been a fan of Rachel Ray's for like since the beginning, you guys. Like since the beginning of Food Network. I'm not even kidding. But yeah, so I am using a 10-inch pan here. So I just use like a little bowl for my 2 eggs, or a little mug even. And if I'm making more than 1 omelet, I do not use a big bowl and whisk everything together. I do it like 2 eggs at a time. It's just my method. It's the way I do it. That way I know that it's the right amount to my 10-inch pan, and I won't have a big fat mess on my hands because I want my omelet to turn out. So that's just the way I do it. If I'm making 3 or 4 omelets, what I'll do is get 3 or 4 mugs out, and I'll mix up my 2 eggs with salt and pepper in each mug, and I'll set it aside and grab them as I go. So let me go ahead and get my eggs broke up into this bowl here. Okay, so I've got my 2 large eggs cracked and into my bowl, and I will say here another mistake that I think I used to make. When I make scrambled eggs, I add a splash of milk, and I would add a splash of milk to make my omelet. And I think that was part of why I struggled so hard when I tried to make an omelet. Julia Child doesn't use milk, or at least in the video I watched she didn't. And then when I stopped doing that, I really noticed a difference. It's just the 2 eggs, a little bit of pepper to your taste, and then a little bit of salt to your taste. And then I've got my little whisk here. I just break up my eggs, and then I go ahead and mix them together. And I'm going to set my camera down here, guys, because I want to use my right hand. I'm using my left right now. It probably wouldn't matter, but I want to get in there. So let me go ahead and set the camera down and finish whisking up these eggs. Okay, so I've got it all mixed together. I really mix this well together, and you want to make sure that you do that too. So you want to get in about a tablespoon of butter on a medium heat. You don't want your heat to be too high here because you don't want your butter to burn. And so I'm gonna go ahead and get this all melted. I kind of move it around my whole pan, and it is a lot of butter. That is the thing with omelets, and it helps. This pan has Teflon on it. You probably want to use some sort of non-stick pan to make an omelet. I mean, maybe you're a hero and you can pull that off, but I need the help of Teflon. and I want to coat my pan really well. You actually want there to be like a little layer of butter. That is how people get their omelets to flip and be able to work with them so well. The key is butter, for real. Do not cheapen out on the butter when you're making an omelet. It makes life real hard. Okay, so how you know your pan is ready? All the butter's melted, right? It starts to kind of bubble. So right when it starts to kind of bubble, like right about now, I'm ready to put my egg in. And I wanted to show you guys, I kind of swish the butter around so it's on that edge there in case my egg gets on there, not just on the bottom part of the pan. So my butter is ready, and I'm going to go ahead and add my egg. So I'm adding my egg, my 2 eggs that I mixed up, and it's going to look like a thin layer, guys. That is what you want. See how it doesn't automatically go to the edges? You don't want it to do that. You want it to be like this. So you pour it in and you let it sit there on the heat for a bit. And when you start seeing it look like this on the edges, do you see that? What I'm going to do is like make the omelet go bigger. Or I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but I'm going to make the omelet get closer to the edges of the pan. So even though that layer, see where it started to get hardened, is still right there, I can make my egg go over it and then cover the pan more. So that's what I just did. And you can see where it's starting to cook like all the way through. So you just want to let it hang out like that. The reason why you don't want it on a real high heat is because it'll brown the bottom before the middle is done, and you don't want your eggs to be browned up like that. That's not very good. Okay guys, when it looks like it's hardening up even more, I go in with my spatula and I kind of pull the sides towards the center. See how I'm doing that? That's to make sure, see how some of the liquid is coming out on the sides? I'm wanting some of that liquid to do that, to come out on the sides. And I'm actually gonna grab my pan. This is kind of hard to do one-handed, you guys. Hopefully this turns out. See how I'm making it come out of the center and get on the edges there? Because I'm wanting that to cook up. And then I'm gonna let that cook for a little bit. Now in the middle, it is still gonna be a little bit wet when you flip it over. I'm moving it around because then you can really tell if it has set or not, you know? So I'm wanting it to be set. And I'm gonna go ahead and just fold this right over. Usually I do a better job of that, guys, but I'm holding a camera. See how easy that is? The key is seriously the butter. So I'm gonna go ahead and let it cook on the one side for a little bit. I smash it down like that because if there's a ton of liquid left in there, it'll ooze out and it'll cook. I don't have a ton of liquid in there, so it's not doing that. It's about time for me to flip. I'm gonna try to do this while I hold the camera, guys. Oh, I did pretty good. It browned up a little bit because I'm talking too much, but you get the gist of it. And just a few seconds on that side and my omelet is perfectly done. I'm gonna go ahead and get a plate and turn it out on the plate. Okay guys, so when you go to flip the omelet on the plate, you put your plate right underneath and you just flip it. And there is your omelet. And now I'm gonna go ahead and show you what I do when I add things into my omelet. Okay guys, so the filling for the omelet I'm about to make, I just have some shredded cheese there, about a 1/4 cup. I think that's more than enough cheese for a 2-egg omelet. And then I have a green pepper and an onion that I'm going to go ahead and cut up now. Okay, so I diced up my green pepper and about half of the onion that I had. I'm going to go ahead and dump this into a heated pan with some olive oil, and I'm gonna cook that up until it's tender. Okay guys, so when I'm doing my veggies for my omelet, I like for them to start to kind of brown up a little bit, and then I go ahead and pull them off of the stove. Okay guys, so once my butter melts, I've already whisked up a couple of eggs for my omelet. And my pan is already hot, so this one will probably go a lot faster. I want to go ahead and add my veggies, which I've got a lot here, you guys. You get to decide how much you want to add and how much you don't. And then I'm going to sprinkle on my cheese. I think that's plenty. More than enough, really. And I'm going to let it do its thing, just like I did the plain omelet. So it's kind of sitting there. I'm going to pull the sides, and it is okay if your peppers or your cheese gets on the sides. I mean, you want that to happen. You want everything to cook evenly, so that's how you accomplish such a thing. And so I'm letting it kind of boil up. I'm wanting it to solidify in the middle. Now, some people put their veggies in and cook it with the omelet. I don't like to do that because sometimes your veggies don't get done all the way, and sometimes it makes the omelet too soggy, and that's why you might have a problem flipping it. I'm letting it cook just a couple more seconds here, and then I'm going to flip it over, and it'll cook itself on the inside because it's so hot. And thin. The key thing is thin. Now this one does have a little bit of egg that came out, and it's the cheese too. But I want to press it down because I want to make sure that all my sides get done. See how big your omelet is with just 2 eggs? And then that's it. And there's my second omelet, guys. Try not to be intimidated by making an omelet. If you've never made one before, like, the cool thing about it is that eggs are dirt cheap. Like, you can make a whole dozen trying, and what are you out? Like $1? So don't worry about it. And then if things start going wrong on the stovetop, just turn it into a scramble. Nobody knows any differently. Like, they'll like it just the same. So I hope this video helps you if you've ever had trouble making an omelet, or if you wanted to give omelet making a whirl. I hope that this shows you it is not as hard as you might think it is. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.